and welcome back to Start Adventuring, a channel dedicated to empowering new role players to break down their barriers and just start adventuring. I'm Baxter.
And I'm Ben. And in this Week in Review, we'll talk about what we learned from running Book of the Raven, the third adventure in the Candlekeep Mysteries, as well as a few community updates. So, without any further ado, let's get right into our lessons learned.
The first lesson we learned was that it's important to match the tone of the adventure to the tone of the character. Just meaning that you don't have one adventure that is super spooky and a character that is, well, not.
Right, yeah. In the case of this adventure, there was some disconnect, I think, between your expectation of what the adventure was going to be like when you made your character, that got in the way of the character fitting into the adventure effectively. And I think the solution to it is either the DM plays a stronger role in helping the player to fashion a character that fits into the adventure, or the player or the DM has to be more willing to adapt the adventure that they're running, if they're running a pre-written module like we are, to that character. I think I was being very precious about doing what was in the module, and it was sometimes at the expense of Silvo fitting into the adventure in a meaningful way.
Right. I think that there's not really much more that can be said than that. I think that it comes down to if the module doesn't fit, you have to edit it as best you can. Or if you plan to run it as written, it just needs to be communicated as well as possible.
Yeah, it's especially true when you only have one player. And if that character is only going to be in that adventure, then the adventure has to be the story of that character, or it'll feel really unfulfilling.
Right, exactly.
The second key thing that we learned running this adventure is that as the DM, you need to keep in mind that you alone really are responsible for the flow of information. You have all this stuff in your head, but you need to make sure that you've created ways for that to effectively get to the player so they don't feel lost and confused, especially in a mystery type adventure. It's important to remember that the mystery isn't the adventure. It's the solving of the mystery in order to achieve a goal that's the adventure.
Right. I think it is minorly apparent when you watch the third Candlekeep Mystery Book of the Raven that we did, that Silvo Brightscale just got very overwhelmed, and I as a player was just maybe a little frustrated. And it mainly just came from the fact that because the adventure was, oh, look at this mystery, by design, I'm just confused until I'm not. And then when I'm not confused, I just do whatever the steps to exit or the steps to win are. And that just doesn't really leave a lot to the character in ways of development, or even really much of like player choice, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter so specifically how I'm doing it if there's really only one way to execute said thing.
Yeah, it really comes down to, you should give your players up front what they're trying to do,
right, and
let the struggle be figuring out how to accomplish that goal.
Correct, because if you spend the entire adventure, I mean, and we talk about it too. It's different if we're talking about a group of 4 people. It's easier for them to fully explore an entire area, and so that the information is dispersed within the group. But at the very least, it can be consolidated. But when it's one person, it feels much more like a check every door, make an educated guess on which one you want to go into, and if it doesn't work out, bail, because you don't have any other failsafe.
Right.
Because you're the only one that can look at the other rooms.
Right, and I think that point is especially sort of compounded when you're trying to do a one-shot adventure, and especially trying to run it in 2 hours or less like we do. If you had a longer time to explore an area, by all means, explore, learn the mystery. But if you are running this for one person in a short amount of time, you're going to have to edit what the NPCs know, who can tell somebody important information and point them in the right direction, so that it continues moving in a meaningful way, as opposed to turning into sort of a railroady, okay, go here, okay, go there, we got to wrap this up kind of thing.
Yeah, that well said.
And that point about information ties into our last lesson, which is just that motivation for the player character needs to be clear and present from the beginning of the adventure, because you never want the player to be sitting there confused about what they're trying to do if you're running a one-on-one session in a short amount of time like this.
Yeah, and that one, it's as simple as that. So with that, let's go ahead and touch on some community news.
In community news, we just wanted to give a big shout out to viewer Ben Stubbs, who left us a very nice comment on one of the videos last week, talking about how he is running Candlekeep one-on-one with his daughter, which is fantastic to hear. We're hearing a lot about people playing with their family, which is obviously something that's super close to our hearts. We're doing this together. We just started a game with our dad. We're thinking about making a video about playing with family, because it seems to be a topic that a lot of people are interested in. So if you are interested in that and you'd like us to try to make a video about that, let us know in the comments down below. And Ben, thank you so much for your comment. I hope that what we told you about how we try to tune combat one-on-one is helpful to you. But let's continue that conversation too in the comments down below here.
Yeah, absolutely. We love all of the engagement that we can get, so thank you guys for reaching out. We're happy to have the conversations. And with that, in other channel announcements, the only real thing is Ben and I are planning to have an intro video go live within the week. So by the next week in review, we'll be looking to have that up on the channel as well. And that's more just to give context to what we're doing, and in case there's people that just want a crash course in what Start Adventuring is all about, that'll be the video for them.
Yeah, it'll be less for the folks here watching the weeks in review, because obviously you know what you're watching here.
Yeah. That'll do us this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and give us a like. And if you haven't already, the best way to help the channel is to subscribe. So please consider doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been so happy to see the community growing week to week, and we'd love to continue that trend. Also, if you enjoyed the topics that we talked about and you're interested to learn kind of how we got to those key points, there's a long-form discussion of the adventure and how we felt about it on our Patreon, which you can find in the description down below. And let's keep this conversation going. Please leave us a comment and let's keep talking. But until next time, I'm Ben.
And I'm Baxter. And remember, start adventuring.
Just start adventuring.